It's 1:30. Okay,
I would just like to recognize that I've been promoted to the big kids table.
you look good over there. Yeah. How's it feel to be back up here?
I feel like a big kid now.
Oh, okay.
Behave yourself or we'll ship you back down.
I'll be back down there with Laura. Okay, fine.
I'm not sure what that implies, but
One thing about it, we can hear you without a mic, and a lot of people you can't even hear with a mic. You know what?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Nah, come on. I'm sorry. Let me turn this thing in the right position. The reason I've got my phone up is because I got an email for Mike. And I'll have to read here in a minute. Okay, so we'll call the March 9th meeting, call meeting or change meeting to order. Roll call.
Neil Johnson.
Here.
Greg Collier.
Here.
Andrew Barker.
Here.
Joel Gardner.
Here.
Steve Smith.
Yes.
Bill Schoononer and Micah Thomason not here.
I'm going to ask for the approval of, you can see it there, 6 meeting minutes. And before we make a motion to approve, Micah indicated that there was a mistake on, let's see, December's meeting. And he said that on page 4, let's see, wait a minute. Page 3 of the December meetings of the agenda, the 4th line from the bottom of the page states that Commissioner Thomason asked how much the hangar would cost. I wasn't at the meeting and didn't ask the question. I have no idea who asked. I would have been the second to Joel's motion below this comment on page 4. I still don't understand how, well, that's another thought, but he's asking for a correction on that. And I would say if we vote, if we make a motion to approve all of these with the exception, or
Is that the meeting he came late to?
was he at that meeting, or do you know? He indicated to me he wasn't.
It shows on the minutes that he was absent, but I was,
Okay.
But
Well,
that
then
was,
that-
that was the meeting where we talked about the guy who was wanting to donate the money, and Michael was here, because
Yes,
he and
he
I
said-
the 3 of us walked to the parking lot and back together.
yeah, and he sat over here on this side.
Yes, sir.
And so I don't know which meeting that was. And if he missed roll call, then came in and sat down there, he might have been for the bulk of the meeting and just didn't catch roll
I
call.
believe he and I walked here together from the far parking lot, and then the 3 of us walked back to the far parking lot together, so.
Which meeting was that?
That was it had to be the December one, because the guy was wanting to donate the money before the end of the year.
Yeah, December. Well, what's your pleasure? You want to make a motion to approve all the minutes with this correction, or just omit, make a motion to, for all the other 5, and wait till that one is corrected?
I don't know if it needs corrected. I'm thinking he just doesn't remember if he was here, if that's the meeting in question. Indicated, I don't really have one. I guess I'm just discussing here. If we put that in the minutes, that he asked that question, then say, okay, we're not going to approve it.
Isn't this stuff recorded? Have a recording of it?
No. And that's why I was asking, just approve them with this correction. And it can be corrected at any date
Well,
later.
what if it is correct?
Huh?
But if it is correct, what we have,
Well, then you don't call it a correction, I guess you would call it address this comment, maybe. Or we can just omit it and approve the others right now.
So reread again what page and what issue he had the question with?
Says Commissioner Thomason asked if we know what the hangar will actually cost.
On which,
The bottom of page 3.
December meeting.
On December's meeting.
oh, okay. He was here during that one.
He was saying he wasn't at the meeting, so he couldn't have made that. That's a comment here.
Because on the, showing on the front page, roll call, it shows him being absent.
That's where the error would be as far as I'm concerned. But we talked and walked here and back.
Well, I would move to approve the minutes from October, November of 2020, January 27th, January 21st, and February 18th of 21 as submitted, and perhaps go back to the recording and confirm if he was or was not here to make that comment.
Okay?
I will second that.
Okay. Any discussion? Motion second, we're gonna have, no, we got 4 here. We got Andrew up there. Are you with us, Andrew?
I'm here.
Okay.
You can speak in anytime.
Roll call?
I did.
Johnson. Collier.
Yes.
Barker.
Yes.
Gardner.
Yes, ma'am.
Smith.
Yes.
Schoonover. Thomason.
Okay. Comments from the audience? Report from Ernest. Now, what were you gonna talk about today besides this other deal I asked you to come for?
If you remember at the last meeting, we gave Mr. Mann a deadline by which to pay. The deadline came and went. He didn't pay. So we're free to collect our judgment that we already have and to seek a judgment on the other part, should we choose to do so. I think y'all gave him till the week of the last meeting, which was the 18th. Of course, that's the week we had the weather come in, but I was told he was going to pay it, but he hasn't paid it. So that's where we are.
And we were giving him until the 18th of February?
Actually, the
I mean,
15th.
March,
The
or
15th,
18th February,
15th of February, it was the Monday before the last meeting.
and he didn't pay.
He didn't pay it. It was communicated to him, and it was communicated to me that he was going to pay it, but he didn't
what-
pay it.
How did we react to that? Did we extend that, or, I don't.
You all passed, I believe you all passed a motion to that effect, that the offer, that generous offer, that you had extended to him would expire on that date if he didn't pay it by that date. So that's the way I understood it.
Okay. And your recommendation at this point?
We already have one judgment that we can collect on, and then the other had to do with the, rent at the restaurant, but you all gave him credit for equipment, but you also tied it to what we had a judgment on. So to me, it's all off the table, but
So you're saying you can just handle it from here without any action from us?
if he comes back with any proposals, I will bring those to you. But the way I see it, we got a judgment we can collect.
We've not collected anything from him in regards to the restaurant. Is that correct?
No, other than some equipment that he left behind. I don't know if anybody's here for him. That's all I
Okay.
have on that.
Yeah, for now, I guess. We're gonna get into this hangar issue here after a while. Is Daniel here?
Yeah.
All right, don't recognize anybody with those masks on.
That's okay. Good afternoon. Good to see you again. So I'm going to recap just a little bit of January. January was kind of on par with what 2020 looked like as far as sales. It was a little bit
Is it
down.
necessary that you have that mask on standing up?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, all right.
So January sales for this year were kind of on par with what 2020 looked like, a little bit lower. It's kind of business as usual for January. A little bit of weather kind of kept some of the VFR traffic away, the flight school out as well. Looking at February, we died last month. It was hard. I've got my gallons that we purchased, which equates to what the flowage fees would have been for last month. We purchased 19,365 gallons, and that is roughly half of what we purchased at the same time last year, February of 2020. We purchased 36,227. And so Mr. Wyman has those numbers, the flowage fees numbers. I think they're roughly 2130 for February is what they should have been this last month, and for 2020 would have been just almost double that. That weather was rough. The city, we're extremely thankful for everybody who was plowing. Kind of helped us with getting some of our base aircraft out. Mark and his charters were able to get back out after a couple days, and we had our tractor that we used to tow aircraft. We put our front end bucket on it, and we were moving snow too out of the parking lot. What the city just wasn't able to get to, we tried to help out. This month so far, I wouldn't say we're making up for what we had last month, our deficit for last month, but earlier this week was very nice. Over the weekend was okay, and then Friday was very good. We had a lot of activity. It was nice to see, and it coincided with the restaurant coming back open as well. So a lot of positive things were said about the restaurant on my end, so that was great to hear. We're working with Farrell upstairs, offering discounts for, if somebody purchases 10 gallons or a top off, then I'll pay for half of one of their entrees for the meal for that aircraft. That was really popular, so we had a couple of those, I think, go out. And also we have a new incentive of a certain amount of fuel purchased for, at least for jet fuel right now, maybe extending this for avgas in some capacity. We'll pay for part of a rental car, and that has been taken advantage of already. So if you get, I think the tier is 150 gallons, you get $50 off of a Hertz rental, and 250 gets you $50 off of 2 Hertz rentals. So for a lot of our customers, that's really attractive. So that's working out. We like seeing that. They're appreciating it. And if y'all weren't aware, Hertz we've got a great partnership. They've actually given us a Cadillac to use as a courtesy car. And people are really enjoying that. So we're trying to make sure we earn it and deserve it as well. As far as updates from me, that's all I have, unless you have any questions for me.
You said a lot of positive comments. Can you be specific? Are they positive about the restaurant being open?
Both being open and the quality of food. So, and the pricing. The pricing is great. People are really enjoying it. They love that they're open early. They can come in and get breakfast. They can come back for lunch before they're closed at 2. I maybe heard 1 or 2 comments that were less than positive, but they weren't really negative. And one of those was they had odd fries, but they changed their fries and people loved it. So that's just what I've heard on my end.
So are you seeing very many people outside of the airport coming in for that?
Yes, I'd say I recognize probably half of the people that go up there because they're people who work at the airport in some capacity, and then the rest are going to be local people, maybe coming over from Tyson or something that on their lunch break.
Sounds good.
Fire department's been over. Oh, fire department's apparently been by as well.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Airport operations, Laura?
I don't have much to report either, because we're just starting to pick back up again now, so we're ready to get into this season with mowing and all that kind of thing. We're trying to get everything taken care of that we can before the mowing season really starts, to make sure everything's fixed and that we need to take care of. The restaurant did good. He opened last Wednesday. I sent out a mass email to everybody in the city that had email addresses and let them know he's offering them a 10% discount. So James and Wyman was up there Thursday, and I saw quite a few city people, so that was nice to see that they were out to support him. And we enjoyed the food, and the fries were probably the only thing that we commented on as well. So he said the last couple days it's been a little bit slow, but he's still trying to get word out. You know, it was closed for a long time. So we've been trying to figure out how we can help him get the word out and get people up there and taking advantage of it, because he does make good food. Other than that, not a whole lot going on at the airport right now.
In your time segment here, I want to make note of, we had an aircraft come in, belly landed Sunday. And it was a small aircraft. It shouldn't have taken very long to get it off. It did. It took some time, so the runway was closed for a while. But that being said, talking to the fire representative there, and I didn't get his name, but they're very confused, again, of how to handle emergency situations at the airport. 30 years ago, it doesn't seem like that, but it's been almost 30 years ago, we had a practice out there, brought the fire department and the police department out there, and we actually flew the plane and played out an emergency situation, showed them what to do. I told the firemen that I would propose and set up another one of those emergency procedures, and I can handle that as far as the scope of it, because ironically we did that with my airplane, and a month later we did it for real.
That was my airplane?
That's when I had that broken gear, and they actually reenacted it for real after a month later, after we practiced it out there. It was kind of ironic, but we hope that don't happen again. But it did, and so I'm just saying this as informative right now. I don't know if we're going to have any action with it here, or just everybody be on board, but I intend to talk to the police chief, fire chief, and everybody and set this up. We'll just have it whenever we can do it, in the middle of the day, and we'll just set a day and meet out there. And Laura will handle the anything we need to do with the FAA for as far as having fire trucks on the runway and things of this nature.
Yeah, as I understand it, though, the FAA didn't want to, they were taking their time getting it released for some reason. I'm not sure what their reasoning was, and they're still investigating what actually happened.
Well, in a situation like that, and we've been through this several times, if there's no personal injury and if there's no anything that needs to linger, the FAA wants that thing off the runway as soon as possible.
It took them that long to get the release?
No.
That's what James said.
No.
I was out of town, so I wasn't even there, but that's what I've heard, the story.
They had the release with the pictures. Just go ahead and take pictures and then get it off the runway. And that's usually the way it's done. I guess there's an accident and there's an incident. And the FAA treats non-injury, and where there's very little damage, they treat most of that as incidents. It's, you can have a flat on an aircraft that you can't get the thing off there. You don't even call the FAA, but in this case, that was the statement was, get pictures, as soon as you get pictures, get it off the runway. And it was an hour after they got pictures before we got it off there. But that's just the fact that we don't have emergency equipment. The airport doesn't have any emergency equipment, and rightly so. I don't know if we need it. But it was on a Sunday, had to get people, mechanics and stuff out over there. And it worked okay, but we were shut down longer probably than we should have been. That's all I was getting at. And the confusion among the police and the fire department, what their roles are in that. So we'll try to have an exercise out there that will help clarify some of that.
So the city of Springdale doesn't have an ARF attached to that airport?
As what?
The city of Springdale Fire Department, they don't have an ARF airport firefighting rescue vehicle?
Well, they just use fire trucks and ambulance, whatever they need. They don't have anything specifically for airport, no. They have a crash gate and things, they have access that we don't normally use. Like down on the southeast corner, we have a gate
Right.
there that's a crash gate, and of course, you know where the other accesses are.
Right.
But there's procedures that you're supposed to follow in an emergency as to how they act. And it's very simple, but if no one really knows what the role is, it gets confusing. In other words, just to give you an example, police don't know if they have, if they're to take charge or whatever. It's not the police, it's the fire department. In all cases are the ones who first respond, or they're the ones who get there, secure it, and they're in charge until everything is, they say it's okay. And then it's turned over to the airport personnel, and the airport personnel takes it from there with the FAA and stuff like that. The police never really get involved in the accident itself. And they secure the perimeter and things of this nature is the way it's supposed to play out. So, and that's what we'll be going through. And like I say, I didn't realize it'd been 30 years, but everybody has left now that participated in that, you know. So, but we'll be doing that sometime in the near future. So moving on.
Hey, when you do that, send out a memo or something to the rest of the guys. Some of us might want to show up.
We will.
Okay.
Oh, we'll be talking, it won't be before the next meeting.
Okay,
Oh,
okay.
I'll be filling everybody in on what's going on, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah. That's not something we're going to do next week.
And just to put into the back of your brain cell, I'll volunteer my wife and her company. They do battlefield effects for the military, everything from smoke to explosions to eviscerations, missing limbs, that kind of thing. So if you want to go to that level, we can help. We've done it for their Springdale Fire Department before, so.
We can talk about that stuff, yeah. We'll get everybody involved and go from there. So, okay. Wyman? Yep. This is where I start getting confused. When maybe we need to engineer. When we came up with the idea of moving from the south side, or off of Powell, and when we thought we had choices of where we would build hangar, that's all that was proposed. we elected to go to the east side. Am I right so far?
Yeah, from what I remember, it was about, early last year. I can't remember exactly when, but yeah, we showed options for the Powell area on the east side or west side, or the area on the east side on 265, and we showed options for both, but I think the commission elected to try the east side. They thought it'd be a more popular spot because of the access to 265, I think was the key thing, the commission.
Well, here's my
Wait.
question. This is where I'm getting hung up on this. In that decision, were we aware that we had to have, before we could proceed over there, we had to have a hangar rented and spoken for before we could?
I don't think we knew that, but at the same time, at that point, the plan was to build the site work and the city build the hangar instead of a speculative hangar, so it never really came up. But I will say, you have, as a commission in the past, built aprons for speculative spaces, and so I would not have assumed, even if your plan was to build an apron for a speculative hangar at that time, that the state would not look favorably on it. That's
So
kind of a new thing from what I'm hearing from the
So
state.
what we're talking about is space for two hangars now, and that's what they're objecting to. Is that right, Wyman?
I think, so the last application we sent in, just as a reminder, we sent 2 applications in. It was 2 applications to try to fund all the site work only, no hangars. There were no hangars tied to those grant applications. We only bid the site work. And the state said, hey, since you don't have anybody signed up right now to build any hangars over there, the ADA Commission isn't going to support that because they have other hangar requests where they already have either the city's going to own the hangar or they have an apron, they already have a tenant ready to build the hangar, and so those are going to take precedent. And so if we went forward with the application, it wouldn't be granted because we don't have someone ready to build a hangar right now.
I'm still not clear. What are our options? What are the options on the east side?
So on the,
Because Wyman is saying they're talking about rejecting. What are they rejecting?
they're rejecting a grant application just for site work to build to a spot to put a hangar without a hangar plan to be built there either by you as a city or by a tenant ready to go under a land lease with the airport saying, we're ready to build a hangar right now.
But at the time, we were talking about having the city built hangar.
Correct.
Why could we not go back to that?
Oh, you absolutely could go back to that. I think the issue is just cash flow. That was the discussion we had when you were entertaining it for a brief moment. Someone else coming in to build it is because it would avoid the cash flow issue of the city having to come with all that money to build a $500,000 hangar facility.
How far along are you on the plans for coming up with construction plans?
For a hangar itself,
For all of the project over there?
well, we've already bid the project. It's done. We bid it. We had APAC was the low bidder, if you remember. So we had a grant application based on bids. So it's done. We don't have a hangar bid. We just have a site work bid.
We're way down the road, and we're talking about now Thursday, possibly getting a denial on it. Is that where we're at?
Oh, yeah. From what I understand, and Wyman spoke with them, was that the ADA Commission or the ADA staff basically was saying, with the other competitive grants we have right now, y'all's isn't going to get approved.
Not gonna get approved.
That's the way I understand it, yeah. And they specifically referenced just they didn't want to build an apron out to nowhere without a hangar ready to go on it.
Not just having a plan of potentially having a hangar there, it's having a plan of somebody funding the hangar.
Yeah, a land lease is effectively what they said. Hey, if you had a land lease in hand, like, hey, someone's already signed up to build it, it's a whole different game. Or if the city wanted to build one and said, hey, we're going to build it, we got the bid right here, the plans right here to build our own. They just don't want to build an apron and sit there. We go, well, we should have invested that somewhere else where the apron was going to go up right away. And again,
If we had a land lease, then it would continue.
that's the way they spoke to me about it, but I know Wyman spoke to him after me, so Wyman, I don't know if you got a different indication, but that's what I had heard was just some sort of agreement in place that a hangar was going to go up in that spot.
Sort of a last-minute thing, isn't
This request from them,
it? Yeah.
I'd say so. I mean, like I
Can't hear
said,
you, Steve.
I said it was sort of a last-minute thing.
Oh, can you pull that down?
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
from a history standpoint, y'all have built speculative pavement before. I mean, we built taxiways to nowhere to open up development area, but budgets are just tight right now, and so when they look at priorities, they'd rather fund a spot that has a hangar ready to go on it. That's what they've indicated to me.
So all communications staff level.
That's correct. It is staff
Is that
level.
where the decisions are made?
I think if you look at the history, is that grants don't go on the ADA commission and not get approved. I've only seen one in my entire career that made it to the commission and it got denied there. And so effectively, the staff does a good job, you could say, of making sure that no one goes to the meeting and gets denied. They try to have a good pulse for the actual ADA
So
commission.
the staff is saying they're not going to recommend putting it to the commission.
Correct.
And all we have to have is a land lease?
That's what they've indicated to me, yeah. I know we worked with James and Laura, tried to find some people that were willing to sign an NOI so we could give that to the state, something, but to no avail. We have a list of waiting list too, thinking that may appease them, but they're wanting a lot more than what they've asked for in the past.
So where were we initially with the city when we discussed this with them? Do you know?
As far as financially with the city, that I don't know. You know, we originally put a budget together to get up to maybe $500,000 of grant funds. I think the last request we asked for $375,000, but it was always going to be about if you wanted to build the hangar, about $500,000 or more from the city was going to have to fund to get the apron and the hangar built.
So we went with the engineering fees, went out for bid, and got a bid on it for basically naught.
I would hope for not. I mean, if you can find someone to develop the area, then the state's told me that they're all willing to go for
How
it.
much time do we have to do that? I
mean,
mean,
you
what
can
would
hit- Yeah.
yeah.
You can hit any meeting. I mean, the state meets any month. So we're happy to talk to APAC too, just to make sure they'd hold their bid that they already bid.
How long do those usually stay?
We max it out 120 days to try to hit as many state meetings as possible. But I think this is our last chance with that. But most contractors in the past have been pretty reasonable. No one wants to go out and rebid something if they don't have to. And so, I mean, if they know they've got the bid, I'm sure they'd be willing to hold it a little bit longer if that's the way you want to go and try to find someone.
I bet we could find somebody in 30 days.
Yeah, and this is just not, maybe private business is different than this, but I'm not used to coming up at the last minute and say, hey, all this work you got done, all this money you spent, you got to make a decision within 2 days. I mean, or it's all gone. And it just don't work that way in my thinking. I mean, certainly you can't recover not only the time or the money that's been spent on this project, thinking we were going fine with it. I mean, we thought that I did, when I say we, I thought that we could always revert back to our original plan. And that second hangar was only if we had one in the works. So somehow or other, I guess I assumed too much down the road, but I never dreamed that we were going to go to this point and all at once say, we got 2 days.
Yeah, what's the 2 days coming from? Maybe I missed that.
Well, Thursday, I understand, is when the decision will be made to accept it or reject it. This coming Thursday. Today's 9th, 11th.
I haven't heard that deadline. What's the Thursday deadline? Is that something they told you, Wyman? It's not.
What was the question?
Thursday.
They were gonna meet Thursday.
They meet on Wednesday, so they will meet on the 17th. Will be their next meeting.
When's the next ADA meeting?
It's the 17th of March, so it's a week from tomorrow is their meeting.
That was the meeting, they were gonna put it back on the agenda that they wanted us to withdraw it back.
You're gonna have to.
Yeah, I
speak
can't
into-
hear what,
I can't
Yeah.
hear either.
That was the meeting that they were wanting us to withdraw it by, or alter it or change it or do something.
What date is that?
March the 17th.
Oh, so now, yeah, so we're,
yeah, so maybe I'm a little confused. Let me take a step back because I feel like you have a lot of options on the table right now. You've got a bid to do site work on the west side, or sorry, the east side on 265.
Yeah.
And you have 2 grants that are sitting at the state right now that they've told us, from what I understand, is that they would fund them if you can find someone to build a hangar, because they don't want to build an apron to nowhere, effectively. Either,
Okay, but what time period do we have to find somebody to build a hangar?
I mean, in my mind, it's more about keeping APAC to hold their bid than it is about meeting some state deadline, because there's a state meeting every month. So as long as you have someone that can, as long as APAC's willing to hold their bid for a little bit longer, then you could hit.
So
You
if
could
they
be in
held,
the-
if
yeah.
they held it another month, we'd have 45 days almost.
Yeah, well, they usually make decisions about a week before the meeting, so I'd say more like 30 days is what you'd have, yeah, to find someone. Or you go to the next month, You'd probably want to try to do it by June. June is when the grant season turns over, and so
You want to get it done before.
you want to get it done before June, that way you use this year's grants,
And
yeah.
then your bids that you've got, will they be good through April or May?
I will call APAC as soon as this meeting's over and make sure they're still happy holding the bid. My gut tells me most people do. APAC has in the past for us, so I'm sure they'd be happy to hold it for a little bit longer.
Okay, because I was under the understanding it was an emergency, that we didn't get somebody here in the next 2 or 3 days, that we'd lose the chance to earn that money.
I mean, you never lose the chance to earn the money. Even if APAC didn't hold their bids, you could just rebid it.
No, I
yeah.
meant from the state,
Oh, from the state, I
the
mean,
grant money, yeah.
yeah, I mean, that grant money is always there. If you can make it a more appetizing deal for the state, meaning you've got a hangar there, I think they would support it. That's what they've told us, at least.
so, to summarize what at least I'm seeing, is you also brought in 2 proposals today of areas that's ready to go.
Those areas are not ready to go, sorry.
So that's gonna take a while
Oh,
to
yeah.
submit that.
Yeah, I think that's something that Wyman asked us to look at the original areas that if the city wanted to build a hangar, is that more appetizing to build one than the east side? So we printed those exhibits as well to give you some things to think about.
They have a period of time at the end of the year that they don't take grant applications also, don't they?
No, that's usually, sometimes that's in November because they don't have a December meeting, but no, they'll take grant applications.
I was thinking about June or July.
They have meetings all the way through May, June, July, August. They meet every month for this time frame. So, but I would say if I'm in your shoes, May 31st is the date I want to try to no later than get something to the state if you want to revise your plan, because that's when
For
the
this.
deadline is for the June meeting.
For this. We'll revise the plan, clarify that.
Like either get a land lease set up for the east side, that way you have what I would call a more robust application for what you've already done, or if you want to
And
switch
what-
gears.
What date did you just say, May?
May 31st, that's the deadline to be on the June meeting, which is the last meeting of the year. Yeah.
That should be doable.
And I'll check with APAC to make sure they hold their bids for the
We know
site
there's
work.
people out there interested, we just
Yeah,
haven't
I
felt
mean-
necessity to go out there and beat the ground
I
to
think
do it.
I've got some people that are interested, more so on the east side than they would be on this other site, because easier to access side.
Mhm.
And so, but, yeah, we just need to get on there and get after it and get us a customer.
If you can get a land lease underway, then I would think that would definitely sweeten the pot for the state. That's what they've told me on the phone, Jerry Chisholm and Richard Mills.
So as soon as we got a land lease, we could go to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if we do that, we'll still need to withdraw this for the next meeting, for their next meeting, is that right?
Yeah, so, and,
Unless we could have a lease by then?
yeah, and that may be my confusion. I didn't realize that you had some deadline to withdraw it. I thought that basically they weren't going to have it at the next meeting until you came out with a different plan, but
On the
Wyman,
17th.
yeah, I thought it was already off that meeting. Like, they weren't going to look at it until there was a land lease tied to it, but that may be something different than what I
No,
heard.
We're
so we could
already
get
off of that.
postponed to the April meeting.
Huh?
We could get postponed to the April meeting and still be okay.
We're already off of this one, right?
That's the way I understood it, unless Wyman heard something different again. I haven't talked to him since, it's about 3 weeks since I talked to him about it. At that point, they told me, no land lease, then we're gonna,
That makes me feel a
hold
lot
it.
better. At least we
So-
have some time.
sorry, I may have miscommunicated, or we weren't
Well,
talking different languages here today.
Well, that's the reason we're here today,
Yeah.
is this very sudden, and just needing to clarify and get explanation for it as, I'm not trying to confuse the situation, I'm just trying to say in my mind, I'm trying to get as clear as possible on it. And I'm still sold on that east side.
Oh, yeah.
We've got that west side ready to go if we can just get people there and get city money or whatever it takes, spec hangers or whatever.
Andrew, you're just gonna have to say yes. We can't, we're not paying attention, your head nodding.
I'm just following along, listening.
So what's your thoughts?
I agree.
Thoughts on location?
Absolutely, the east side's the way to go. Absolutely, it is.
Okay. Joel, you think same?
Yeah, I was just listening to the concern about getting the grant, and I'm running through my brain cell. As long as I've been here, I don't think Garver has submitted a grant that we haven't gotten, and that's a pretty damn good performance right there. And the fact that we wouldn't get a grant on a month, it's a matter of pushing it to the next month or the next month after that. Us preparing a better, like you were saying, preparing a better package, especially when I look at from the DOT side, all the highly competitive grants that are out there, and most people have a 10% success rate on getting grants approved from the DOT, but this airport seems to have a much higher success rate than I've ever seen. So I'm not concerned about not doing it this month or not doing it next month. When we have a package that can really tell a story and really convince this board or this group that we're the ones that are the best, damn it, let's put it in there.
And there wouldn't be any concern over 2 hangars versus 1 hangar, like how we initially started this process.
Oh, they would love 2 hangars, but I'd say it'd be even better.
Question is,
And I think that's where we were coming from. If we had the ability to do a city hangar, get, do one speculative, then, and we had a commitment on the other one, we'd have 2. That's where I thought we were going all along. Or if we didn't have a commitment on one, we would still have the
Yeah,
speculative.
I see what you're saying now, Neil. I think absolutely, it's still on the table. The city, once the first one gets built, the city could build the next one right next to it, obviously. That just gets back to having the capital up front to build it, or maybe perfect world would be, we can get the grants this year in June, and then you have a whole new slew of grants available to you in July, and then you could go look at maybe repackaging a hangar bid again, just for you, for the next spot. I mean, there's lots of opportunities here. And so what I'm hearing from you is, we want to just hold the applications, see if we can get a land lease, sweeten the deal. I'll talk to APAC, make sure they can hold their bids. I'll just go ahead and see if we can get them all the way through June. That way we got a couple meetings here. But you want to continue pushing the east side and push to try to get someone under a land lease to help the state feel like they're not just building a speculative apron, effectively.
So do I need to put that into a motion? Or we just move on?
Well, it was,
I guess it
it's
doesn't
on
need to
the
be a motion,
agenda.
does it?
It's on the agenda. It was the reason the meeting was called, and yes, I would like to have a motion on it.
I'll make a motion that we continue our pursuit for the east side hangar and taxiway or what have you, ramp, and that we pursue getting something done, let's say by May.
So Laura, just keep me posted as soon as you have something in writing. We'll just add it to the grant package. The package will just stay there with the state. We'll just throw the land lease out when we have it and give them a call and say, now we think we have a better deal here for you.
I'll second that.
Okay, any-
I got a
Discussion?
comment.
yes, yes.
I've discussed with the mayor all the options and asked him how much money he's willing to recommend to the council to contribute toward this project. If we build the hangar on the east side and the apron, that's going to exceed considerably the amount of money he's willing to recommend to the council. He indicated he would recommend the matching money for the apron if we had a land lease for the hangar. But for us to build the hangar and the apron at the same time, we won't have enough grants to cover both, which is going to run up the amount of money, local money, that's got to be put in considerably. And he's indicated that he's not willing to support that at this time.
That's not what was brought to the table, unless I'm misunderstanding. We're not asking the city to fund it. We're looking at,
Okay, well, maybe I misunderstood the motion.
Well, there was the conversation of getting the land lease and then having the city build a second hangar. I don't know if I was in the mayor's shoes, how I could justify spending that kind of money on such a niche product, being a hangar, when it doesn't impact the entirety of the community. So I agree with him completely on that.
What I understood, I mean, we were using city matching funds is what the city's portion of it would be. And we had, I understood we had state funds for hangars, like we have in the past. And we would have matching off that, 90-10 or what it was. And then the other hangar came up where a private individual would build one, did not negate that. So if we go back to the asphalt and the hangar, the monies we're talking about is not the funds to build the hangar, it's the matching funds. Am I wrong there?
It is the
Each
matching.
project.
Yeah, so two things. One,
How much is that?
Yeah.
That's the deal.
yeah, so just
That's what the commitment from the city would be, right?
Right, so I'm going to break it up real quick. So the recommendation of just the site work, which is what was recommended before, that matching amount, the way the application is submitted right now is $75,000. If you were to get that built under these two grants, and then in July, try to get another grant for a hangar, maybe you get another $250,000 for that hangar, but you still got to put $250 of your own in there too. And so if you wanted to build a hangar yourself in the future, you're probably looking at about $250,000 of local funds being needed for the hangar. Probably be a 50-50 grant is what it would look like.
So the city could build a hangar for half price
Yes, that's right.
and then lease it out and make money.
But I think what Wyman's saying is that right now, the mayor doesn't want to bite off on that 250 plus the 75 here that we're trying to get in the site. We're not asking for that right now, we're just asking for the 75 for the site, and then maybe next year when the year
So
rolls over.
The hangar cost matching has always been $250.
Yes, that's right.
And how much is the asphalt? 75? So the numbers hasn't changed.
If anything, they've gone down a little bit. I think the first budget I
How
brought to
did we
you.
proceed to this point without thinking that the city would give the blessing on that? How did we get to this point? How did we proceed with doing the engineering and getting the bids, not knowing that the city would be on board?
Man, Neil, all I can tell you is the original budget had $500,000 of city money in it when I brought it to you a year ago. And at that point, it was the will of the commission that was probably not an insurmountable amount to try to do, but to get the process started and see what grant funding money was out there. So that's all I can tell you.
Well, we got $250,000 in the bank.
I know one thing, we spent $72,000 on the hangar with the architect that we threw in the trash. And that left a bad taste in my mouth, and I'm not that happy with proceeding to this point and then saying, well, we don't know if we have the money for match. When we've always thought we did have to this point, and we authorized your bill, your work, and I don't know what that has been to this point. Do you know?
What we've done to date with the bidding and the design, I think it's around 40,000, something like that, and then the other parts in construction, which we obviously haven't done yet, so, yeah.
So what would the total be?
The total, if we do with construction, everything is 70-something, is what our contract's for, yeah.
For both?
For everything, yeah, yeah.
And we're halfway there.
Mm-hmm.
So, any other comments?
Well, we do have a motion and a second up on the table at this point in time, but I don't know, as a point of requesting a proper order, do we really even need a motion and a second for us to just continue to pursue looking for somebody to do a land lease?
Maybe not, but I'd like to, because that's what we call this, move this meeting ahead for. And I'd like to justify that with everybody's thoughts on it, if that's. So we have a motion second, so I'll ask for a roll call.
Barker,
Yes.
Gardner,
Yes, ma'am.
Smith,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes?
Collier,
Yes.
Thomason, and Schoonover.
All right, so just to summarize, you haven't thrown 40,000 away. We're waiting for a land lease to sweeten our pot, our grant application to the state, and then we'll get the first hangar built under a land lease, and then look at hopefully maybe the city building a hangar there too in the future.
So
Okay,
can
is
we
there any
get some
comments you want to make? Oops, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Well, just real quick, can we get communication ASAP on if they do extend their bid through?
Yes,
May.
I will probably, I may step out and just get that answer right now while you
Okay, good,
continue your meeting.
So we can
Yeah.
progress with what we were talking
Yeah.
about.
These plans we have here are, tell me what we're doing with these, or?
That was just other alternates of other places the city could build hangars. Those are the same ones we brought to you 12 months ago when you first picked the east side. So
Okay.
that's all they're there for.
All right, no problem.
That's a clear span hanger.
Mhm.
It's on.
There's a clear span. I think there's a box hanger in there too. So those are obviously two
There's two of them.
future spots for you to look at.
And that's proposed to be built over there on the
On the new road.
Access road,
Yeah,
yeah.
the new road. Yeah. All right. I think we're all good.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Robbie Willis is here. Huh? Pardon me?
He was supposed to Zoom.
Well, we slipped this up on him. We've been trying to get him here. We'll just move him to the next meeting. Yeah. Any old business?
I'd like to talk real quick about Robbie Wills and we talked about this last month a little bit before he comes, just so we're not blindsided by moving forward this contract. Did we get an amount that we pay?
$750, wasn't it?
$750 a year?
That's what I understood. I remember.
No, why?
What was the question?
The agreement that we entered with Arkansas General Aviation with Robbie Wills a year or so, or longer than that, I think now. Do we know what the cost of that is?
It was budgeted for something.
I think we had some information in there on that.
It goes into the budget, general budget, and it just gets paid. So unless we make an issue out of it, it'll never come back to us.
For some reason, I thought we were at $1,000 a year to be part of the membership.
I thought it was 500, so
That's how.
Toby got a comment on that.
Okay.
You believe it's 5? Oh, okay, I was wrong.
I'm pretty sure it's 750.
Do what?
750.
Maybe we could clarify that.
Somewhere I got that number.
I'll look and see if I got a letter from them, and I submitted it to Wyman, and that's how it got paid.
I know one thing we've.
So I'll
got
look for that.
saved. I've been inundated with emails. I don't know if anybody else has.
And I could be wrong, but I think I'm not.
Yeah, after we complained? Yeah.
But I've been getting the emails, I get them all year long from Arga.
I do too.
So,
Yep.
and I know I've more in the last 3 months from pretty much everybody because legislature's going on.
Yeah, I
so.
think that had a lot to do with it.
That's probably true, yeah.
Well, he'll get a chance to come in and tell us what it,
Heck yeah.
that'll be good. Is that all?
So we got a positive or a negative on that extension?
He said 99% sure it's good to go. He just had to call his boss. He said he'd text me. So,
Sweet.
like I said, feel pretty good about it.
Thank you. Any more comments from the commissioners?
Yes, sir.
We just need to hustle and finance the land lease.
Pardon me?
I said, we just need to hustle and finance the land lease.
Right. That, you're in charge of that committee.
I'll work on that.
Okay, well, let's adjourn.